O diálogo do Keto-Mojo explora 11 potenciais benefícios à saúde da cetose, como perda de peso, apetite reduzido, colesterol melhorado, marcadores de diabetes e saúde do coração. Também menciona efeitos sobre condições neurológicas, acne, enxaquecas e tratamento do câncer. O artigo destaca a consulta a profissionais de saúde antes de grandes mudanças na dieta. O Keto-Mojo fornece receitas, recursos e produtos para a dieta cetogênica.
All right, ready to dive deep into the keto diet, specifically those 11 potential health benefits we keep hearing about.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Well, to guide us, we've got this article from Keto-Mojo. You familiar with them?
Oh, yeah. Keto-Mojo. They're a great resource for all things keto. Recipes, tips, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, but they're pretty clearly pro-keto.
Definitely team keto, all the way.
Exactly. So we're going to break down those 11 benefits, pull out some of the interesting stuff, and, well, most importantly, see how it relates to you, the listener.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so first off, the big one, the one everyone's always talking about, weight loss. Keto seems to be like a rock star in this department.
Right.
But why? Why is it so effective?
Well, it's like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
Metabolically, I mean. Instead of burning carbs for energy, your body starts burning fat.
Okay.
And that shift can really kickstart weight loss.
So it's not just about, like, squeezing into those jeans you haven't worn in a while.
No, not at all. This fat-burning state, we call it ketosis, can also impact deeper health concerns tied to weight. Like diabetes, heart disease, even certain types of cancer.
Wow, so it's kind of like hitting the reset button on how your body operates.
Exactly.
I like it. Okay, now on to something I think we can all relate to. Those afternoon cravings and energy crashes. Keto supposedly tackles that too. They call it reduced appetite.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
So get this. Fat actually gives you more energy per gram than carbs or protein. So when you're primarily burning fat, well, you feel fuller for longer. Plus, ketosis helps stabilize blood sugar. No more energy roller coaster.
Hold on, so you're telling me I can have my bacon and eat it too without feeling hungry an hour later?
Pretty much.
This is sounding better and better. Is that all, though? Like, is it just about feeling physically full?
Oh, no, there's more. Hormones are in on the action, too. Ghrelin, the hormone that basically screams, feed me, gets a lot quieter when you're in ketosis. Oh, and get this. Studies show this appetite reduction can even stick around after you go back to eating carbs.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's wild. Okay, let's talk inflammation.
Sure.
Everyone's throwing that word around these days, but what's the keto link?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Ketosis doesn't just affect your metabolism. It creates these molecules called ketone bodies.
Okay.
One of them, called BHB, is like a superhero against inflammation, like a natural shield against chronic inflammation. You know, the kind that leads to all sorts of health issues.
So it's fighting inflammation at, like, a cellular level.
Exactly. Plus, the keto diet kind of naturally steers you towards foods known for their anti-inflammatory powers, like avocados, olive oil. And you're, by default, avoiding those usual suspects that trigger inflammation. Processed foods, sugary drinks, all that.
Okay, time to wade into the murky waters of cholesterol.
All right.
Doesn't all this high-fat talk mean high cholesterol? My doctor's going to have a fit.
That's the age-old myth, right?
Yeah.
What's often seen is a decrease in total cholesterol and triglycerides.
The bad guys.
Right. And even better, you get a boost in good HDL cholesterol.
Okay, but what about the bad LDL? Everyone always talks about that.
Ah, the LDL dilemma. Well, here's the thing. Any increase is often temporary, tied to that initial weight loss. And get this, it's not just the amount of LDL that matters.
Oh.
It's the type.
Yeah?
You got small, dense LDL particles. Yeah. Those are the troublemakers. And then there's large, fluffy ones. Much less of a problem. Keto can shift you towards the larger ones.
So it's like quality over quantity when it comes to LDL. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay, on to something I know a lot of people are curious about, blood sugar control. Cutting carbs obviously helps. But how dramatic is the impact on keto?
It's pretty immediate. Anyone with diabetes, though, needs to be in close contact with their doctor.
Yeah.
Because medication adjustments might be necessary.
Right.
Less sugar means lower insulin levels, which is especially important for those with insulin resistance. And the studies show some pretty incredible results, like people with diabetes on keto seeing big reductions in their medication and fasting glucose levels.
That's amazing. Okay, another one for those of us struggling with certain health issues, blood pressure. Any good news there?
Let's look at the research. Studies on obese patients show those on keto see bigger drops in blood pressure compared to those on low-fat diets. And here's the fascinating part. They achieved this while having similar weight loss and triglyceride improvements as those on low-fat diets and medication.
Wait, so keto is working better than medication in some cases?
Well, it's not about replacing medication entirely, but it definitely highlights the power of diet. Now, for another one that turns conventional wisdom on its head, heart health.
Oh.
We've all been told low-fat is the holy grail, but is that the whole story?
I'm sensing another myth-busting moment.
You got it. Research is showing a low-carb, higher-fat diet can actually improve heart health markers. In one study with normal weight men, 22 out of 26 cardiovascular risk markers improved on keto.
Wow.
Pretty remarkable.
So it's about choosing the right fats, not fearing them altogether.
Exactly. And remember our LDL discussion. It all comes back to particle size. Keto can promote those larger, less harmful LDL particles.
Okay, this next one really surprised me. Keto for brain health. How does that even work?
It's got a longer history than you might think. Back in the 1920s, doctors were using keto to treat epilepsy.
Wow.
Turns out ketones, those molecules we talked about, act as neuroprotective antioxidants. They also boost mitochondrial function, the powerhouses of your cells. And they help regulate glutamate, the neurotransmitter that can cause problems if there's too much of it.
So ketones are like brain fuel.
In a way, yeah. And while research is still ongoing, the possibilities are pretty exciting. Protection against stroke, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
Keto just keeps getting more and more interesting. Could it even help with acne?
Well, that's one where the research is still catching up, but there's a potential link through hormonal balance, especially for those with PCOS. Keto's impact on insulin and inflammation could also play a role.
That's good news for anyone battling breakouts. Okay, this next one's for all the migraine sufferers out there. Any hope for them?
Anecdotally, a lot of people on keto report finding relief from migraines. And studies are starting to back this up, showing a reduction in headache frequency and medication use.
Interesting.
It probably comes back to those effects on brain metabolism and inflammation, but more research is needed.
Of course. Okay, last but not least, and this is a big one, keto as a cancer treatment. That's a pretty bold claim.
It is. And it's based on a concept called the Warburg effect. Some cancer cells are really dependent on glucose sugar for their energy. Keto basically starves them by cutting off their primary fuel source.
So it's like cutting off the enemy's supply lines.
Exactly. But it's crucial to understand that not all cancers respond the same way, and keto's definitely not a cure-all. There's promising research exploring it as a complementary therapy, but not a replacement for conventional treatments.
I see. It's amazing how many potential benefits there are. And it's not just about weight loss.
Right.
It's more like a whole body approach, potentially impacting everything from inflammation to heart health to brain function.
It really is. It's like peeling back layers of an onion, each layer revealing another potential benefit. And you're right, it's not just about fitting into a smaller size. It's about improving those underlying mechanisms that drive a lot of the health issues we see today.
And it's so fascinating how it challenges so much of what we've been told about diet and health. A higher fat diet being good for your heart, that's a pretty big shift.
It is a big shift.
Yeah.
But like we've discussed, it's all about the type of fat you're consuming and how your body uses it when it's in ketosis. It's not about just loading up on unhealthy fats. It's about making conscious choices, fueling your body with what it needs to thrive.
And that brings up another important point. This is a lifestyle change, not a quick fix.
Right.
Keto-Mojo emphasizes that a lot.
They do, and for good reason.
Yeah.
It takes commitment. You got to be willing to shift your mindset about food and how it affects you. And it's not for everyone. It's definitely not something to just jump into without guidance, especially if you have any underlying health conditions.
Which is why consulting with a healthcare professional is so crucial.
Absolutely. They can help figure out if keto is right for you, tailor it to your needs, and monitor your progress. It's about taking a personalized approach, not just following some generic plan.
That's a really good point. And even for those who aren't considering keto, this deep dive's really highlighted the power of diet and its connection to our overall health.
Oh, for sure. It reminds us that what we put into our bodies really matters. Food's more than just calories. It's information for our cells. It tells them how to function.
Okay, so we've gone over all these potential benefits, but I think it's important to be realistic here. What about potential downsides of keto? No diet's perfect.
Oh,
right?
absolutely right. And keto is no exception. There can be side effects, especially in those first few weeks, as your body adjusts to burning fat as fuel. Have you heard of the keto flu.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded keto flu. I've heard stories.
Basically, it's a bunch of symptoms, like fatigue, headaches, nausea.
Yeah.
Some people experience it during that initial transition. Keto-Mojo recommends staying hydrated and getting enough electrolytes. And usually it passes within a few days or weeks.
So it's like a temporary initiation into the world of ketosis.
Yeah, you could say that, but you should definitely be aware of it. Take steps to, make it less uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Another concern I've heard is, nutrient deficiencies. Cutting out whole food groups, grains, some fruits, it seems like, that could lead to problems.
Yeah, it's a valid concern, which is why it's so important to focus on nutrient-dense foods when you're on keto. Leafy greens, avocados, nuts, seeds. Those are your new best friends.
So it's not all bacon and cheese all day.
Not quite. It's about making smart choices and going for those whole, unprocessed foods. And in some cases, supplementing might be necessary to fill in any gaps. But of course, talk to your doctor first. Always.
Makes sense. What about the long-term sustainability of keto? It seems pretty restrictive, which, might make it hard to keep up over time.
You're right. It is a big change in how you think about food, what you choose to eat. It might not be right for everyone.
Especially those with certain medical conditions.
Exactly. For example, pregnant or breastfeeding women, people with kidney or liver issues, and those with a history of eating disorders should be really careful and always talk to their doctor first.
It all comes back to personalized guidance.
It does. It's about finding what works for you, your individual needs. Now, before we wrap up this first part, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier, the brain health connection.
Yeah.
I find that aspect of keto fascinating. What are your thoughts?
I have to admit, it's pretty mind-blowing to think a diet could impact something as complex as our brain. The idea that ketones could act as brain fuel, offer protection against neurological diseases, it's incredibly exciting.
It is exciting. And remember how we talked about keto's history in treating epilepsy?
Yeah.
That was a major breakthrough, and now research is exploring its potential for other conditions, like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Wow. It's like a whole new frontier of possibilities. And it really shows the power of food as medicine.
It does. It makes you wonder, what other benefits might we discover as research continues to uncover the complexities of keto?
Lots to think about. We've covered a lot of ground today, and it's clear there's a lot more to explore.
Definitely.